Hello friends, welcome back to another Value Vintage Cards video. So this one I want to share a little bit. I was watching a video, getting caught up a little bit on some of my friends and some of the channels I follow, and the Detroit collector Eric was sharing a very recent pickup that was an authentic altered postcard. I believe he said the population was like 10. So he was just saying kind of how he felt about it being authentic altered, and I've kind of gotten to the point where I know if I'm looking at something that is extremely tough to come by, I just have zero issues with it being altered. Authentic is like the key word. I don't care about the number. I don't care about anything. Sometimes you can't even care about how it looks, honestly. If you want it, and it's, there's 10 of them, his look phenomenal. But, there's some cards out there you just have to make the decision. There's a few I've looked at and said, like, it's literally too rough that I won't enjoy it. But as long as I can enjoy it, I really don't care. And I just got thinking kind of down that path on how often I collect cards that are so tough that I just don't worry about, an A and AA. Some companies didn't do AAs. They just did an A, so you had to wonder, did they literally, and I've heard of that too, people send it in and say, just, is it real? So they'll get an A because they were only asked to grade if it was real or not. So there's all these different reasons. Sometimes you'll see authentic altered, sometimes you'll see just authentic, and you wonder if it is altered, and that's why it was authentic, and like, holy cow, my brain just exploded. So as long as it's real, if it's scarce enough, and I feel like collectors are evolving that way too. I'm seeing some of these really obscure pre-wars, if you can comp them, if there's 40 or 50 of them instead of like 6, then I've been noticing sometimes the A's are selling for 1 and 2 prices. Because people look at it and say, that's a beautiful card. That thing looks like a 4. It's got an A on it. Let's meet in the middle, and let's value it more like it's a 1, 1.5, 2, something like that. And I'll get a better looking card that simply might have, something that's impacted it and made it an A. So, alright, I just thought I would share. So this got me thinking along those lines, and just how much that doesn't bother me. And I sort my cards in different ways, but I tend to have, I sort them alphabetically because I'm a player collector. I sort a few by sets because I'm trying to get like Hall of Fame runs, which is not my thing, not full sets, but Hall of Fame runs. But I also have a few boxes that I set aside that are just like my best of the best. So my box 1, and this drives me insane, it holds, I think, 95 cards. The fact it doesn't hold 100 just makes my round numbers mathematical mind want to explode, but it holds like 95 cards. So I started digging through that box, and I pulled everything that was an A, an AA, something of that nature, and it is a decent percentage. I always say I live my life in like a nice 1, 1.5, 2 range, and A's don't bother me at all. So I just thought I'd share everything that's in my box 1 that is A worthy. And some of them have reasons, some don't. So I thought I'd start off with this because it's not even graded yet. That's that 56 cons. And again, I think I've shown almost all of these, maybe not all of them, but most. Because these are the best of the best of what I have. So 56 cons, Frank Robinson. It's the pre-rookie. If or when I send that in, it's got holes in it. It's got, it looks, literally I can see light through it because of the goofy ring light to record. But, it looks like it was target practice. So somebody pinned that up a lot. They really want to make sure it didn't fall off the wall. So thanks, 1956 Cincinnati fan. Lots and lots of holes in it, but it's fine. At least I have it. And there's, a dozen of those out there or something. Next one's a hand-cut one. So BVG said it's authentic, it's real. It actually has, now that I look at it, I don't pull this one out all that often, but if you're going to snag Card of the Babe, I think it looks pretty gosh darn sharp, right? That's a nice looking version if you don't mind strip cards. and I'm in the population that definitely doesn't mind strip cards. It's got a little bit of tape, I guess that is on the back. So I don't know if it was, yeah, I guess, maybe it would be separated if it weren't for that tape. So somebody taped it to keep it together, but again, at a distance, it's a good looking card. So I'm fine with that. I got a Babe that's taped together. I almost have 2 Babe cards. That's cool. Next up's one of the newer ones. Hank Aaron, Authentic Altered. Picked that one up in a trade. The back is really where it doesn't shine. It's got some issues towards the bottom. This direction, there's some stuff missing there, so it's rough. The front's got some issues as well, but again, it's a Hank rookie. It's a less common Hank rookie, and made it more affordable. So happy to pick that one up. This one I just picked up, so I know I haven't shown this. I mentioned I was making a big trade. Really tough card. A lot of these are in brutal condition. This might be among the most brutal. But there's about 50 of them out there. So, and they get very expensive in any kind of decent grade. But working on this set, there's a few monsters in there. So picked up the Jackie. 67 Venezuelan. This whole Retirado run, which is interesting because it's not all Hall of Famers, and this one has the most epically crushed back known to man. You can see very little. It's got more paper loss than it has paper at this point, but it's okay. Front is better than it could be. It's definitely not pristine by any means, but it is the Jackie. Those can go, they pretty much always will go for 4 figures at this point in time, and they get into 2s and 3s quickly if they're in decent shape. So I'll take a Jackie. This one, obviously a player I collect. So you get into these tough sets. Even though the tops are clipped, the image is great. It's actually a really nice condition card except for the clipped. So toss an A on it. It's 1917 standard biscuits. Of course, anytime I can snag a Sisler, I will. Do I wish it had that? No, but was that a little easier to afford at the time? Of course. So I will take it. Next couple are 1914s, and different reasons. I haven't measured this one. This one might be trimmed, and it's hard to tell because back in the day, I'm going to say it probably is trimmed. But back in the day, they didn't put AAs on them, they just put A's. So I do have my 1914 Cracker Jack 3-finger, Mordecai Brown. That one is actually really crisp looking, though. If you didn't worry about the fact it has an A on it, that's a phenomenal card to look at. It's a little, I guess we call that diamond cut. Borders are a little bit at a weird angle, but again, it's a 1914 Cracker Jack, which is tough. I also have a 1915 that says minimum size not met. And from what I understand, that was not necessarily, it doesn't say evidence of trimming or anything like that. They do explain minimum size not met. From my understanding, that's a fairly common issue with those. And when you can pick up a brand tricky, sometimes you forgive some of the issues and drama that can go along with it. But for me, that is one of the more desirable cards in the set, without getting into the ridiculous high-end, Jacksons and Cobbs and things like that, but within the realm of people I can afford. And actually, the back of it and everything else is pretty solid. So I think that would get a decent number if the size were okay. So phenomenal looking card. Definitely happy to have that one. Alright, next stack. like I said, it's a decent percentage of my big box are A's and AA's. This one I show regularly. When you get into the Stan Musials, Propaganda Montiel, very, very tough. That entire edge looks like it was, I don't know, I always say it looks like it was done by like a arts and crafts teacher that has one of those like jagged scissors. You're scrapbooking with this thing. But thankfully, really everything that you want on that, the image and all the writing on the back, are both fine. So an A is good, and a 2 is out of my price range for sure. And if it's a 1, it has to be a rough 1. I've seen some really rough ones. My A looks better than some rough ones, so I'm happy with it. Next one I picked up in trade, and I show this as often as humanly possible. For being a non-rookie, that's a pretty elite, tough, exciting, interesting, desirable card. So Hunter Wiener's Stan Musial is, in my world, a big deal. These, a lot of times, they don't have the red borders even. So nearly all of them are graded authentic from the entire set. So that almost doesn't distinguish it as being anything worse or different than almost every other card you're going to find. But I like that an awful lot. That's one of the treasures of the collection. Next one came back authentic, minimum size not met. It's hand cut though, so I always say that's a no big deal. These do look better with the borders. There's 0% denying that, but it is and I believe there's at least 2 people on YouTube that have this card, which means, that's like a decent percentage of how many are out there. It's pretty crazy. 1911 baseball bats. I've shared this. I believe John and maybe Dave and Rick both do. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a whole bunch of people that have this card, but there's not a lot of them that exist. So it's a pretty tough one. But the Walter Johnson baseball bats. Sorry for that glare, but I want to get close enough you can kind of see what the card is. So the borders should be intact, and it's definitely trimmed pretty close. But the main image is fine. And again, there's so few of these. You can have one that looks like this, or you can not have it, because they don't come up. I don't think they're available yearly. Next is a T206 that it's just one of those that I just wanted to cross off the list. I enjoy the image a lot, and it's an epic player that gets very, very expensive. So I thought I would share Mr. Ty Cobb with you. That what looks like a crease is possibly a tear. Back is violent. But again, I would say, if the front looked like that, I wouldn't buy the card. The back looking like that and the front looking like this, I can still plop that on the wall and enjoy it. So I have no problem. Within the range of things, it's another card in the collection that I can enjoy, and it's a little more affordable, so I can pick something else up. Next one is actually it was big on my list. It was one that was on my list when I went to Strongsville. I don't think I saw one there, or if I did, maybe I saw like a high grade one that was, almost 5 figures kind of price. They get pricey if they're having a number. So an A is wonderful. They are hand cut, W516 2-2. So these come in different kind of varieties. There's all these W series back then, but I can snag a Babe Ruth, and I always said that the reason I thought this is so cool is you get the image of him. It says Yanks. It shows him throwing right-handed, so it's like the reverse image. And look at his position. So when you get him listed as a pitcher, you get him, it just says Yanks. To me, that's still... I'm glad I'm doing this video, which is one of the joys of doing this, is you get to pull things out and look at them. And sometimes, I haven't pulled this out in weeks. I love that card. I hope that's one that, maybe my girls will keep that. Maybe they'll keep a dozen of my cards when it's time to cash it in. And that might be one. I would almost say, you know what, that one was just such a chase for me. Finding one that was the right condition, the right image. So that in itself is tough. There's not too many of them out there. It is Babe Ruth. That's kind of a big deal, right? I just like so much about that I would almost say, you know, keep that. Next one, down to 4, is my LCS pickup. I've shared that one several times as well. That's one of the, holy cow, I can't believe that walked into my LCS. So Rogers Hornsby, these big heads, kind of a range of years. I think people are saying now it's more like 1918 to 20. I think they say 16 to 20. So it's a rookie-ish era for sure. Very, very tough. All hand cut. A lot of them look worse than this. The fact you get all the borders, what's outside the border matters very little to me. So I'm thrilled I got to pick this up. I think it was a home run for the card shop and home run for me because I'm a Hornsby collector. So if I can snag something like that you won't see every day, those might come up yearly. I don't know. Maybe not. There's not a lot of them out there. So tough set. All right, my last 3 are actually oversized, which is why I don't fit 100 or more cards into that box. So I do fit a whole row of oversized things that I think are classified as either extremely rare tough or high enough dollar value. So I squeeze in my Frank Robinson that I showed earlier, and then I squeeze in these with about another 10 or so. I think I fit 13 maybe sideways. So good use of space if you're looking for ways to keep these oversized. And you know, for me, I don't know where this falls dollar-wise. I feel like there's not enough transactions to give it a good value. I know if they're a higher grade, they go for mucho dinero, but in this condition, authentic, it's a pretty nice condition, though. You know, again, why does it get authentic? Well, it says minimum size not met, but it's hand cut. So shame on you, you know, kid in 1959. You didn't cut your Mickey Mantle out of the box just right. Oh well. Mostly it's clean. I mean, there's a little bit of creases, a little bit of this, that, and the other stuff to it, but I'm going to say, you know, if you want one of the mech, that was a Facebook pickup. I don't think that's a bad one. I'm pretty happy with that. So I will take my A and move on. Where to go next? I've only got 2 left. I'll go with this one. This is Authentic Altered. I mean, it's got all kinds of reasons to be altered, but shown this a few times as well. My Jimmy Fox exhibit rookie. Look at that kid. That kid playing, you know, third base. I absolutely love that. So that in any kind of decent shape goes for some coin. And even in my world, this still went for some healthy coin, but it's how you can pick it up. So you got some front stuff missing, definitely some issues, but as a whole, for what it is, and for the fact it's coming up on 100 years old, old postcard. The back, this is one I wish I could flip-flop. The back's legit. The back looks like I wish the front looked. So everything missing is on the front, unfortunately. But for me, to be able to add that to the collection, you know, Jimmy Fox probably isn't in my top group of people I collect, but he's probably in the next group. He's a top few right-handed player ever, and right-handed hitter for sure. So, big fan of that card. Love that. 26-29 exhibits Jimmy Fox. And the last one, I think, is one of the best-looking baseball anythings. 1921 exhibits of probably the number 1 pitcher of all time, Mr. Walter Johnson. Gets an A. There is, if you look around his leg going into the dugout, there's like an indentation. I can't quite tell what that is. I bought this as a slabbed item, so I never got to hold it and feel what that is exactly. It's basically right here. There's something going on there, but that image is fantastic. To me, that is just amazing. So 1921, just over 100 years old. That is one of my favorite looking items in the entire hobby. I just love that. So, yeah, thank you, Eric, for sharing an authentic item, something we don't see every day, something we might not see again, in anybody's collection because it's so gosh darn rare and scarce. So appreciate that. I just wanted to show some love for the A's and the AAs. That's pulling stuff out of the big box. So hopefully that's some stuff I've shown before, maybe one or two new ones. But just part of the joy of this is you get to resort it and look at it in different ways, and looking at kind of everything in the big box that's just an A or AA is neat and interesting. And all of them kind of have their own reasons. Some are in rough shape. Some of them are just trimmed incorrectly. Some of them have holes in them and paper loss, and